Over the last 5 years, with new ownership, Formula One has been transformed. A lot of this has to do with Liberty Media's strategy of marketing, branding, and making F1 appealing to younger audiences. But a lot of it has to do with drivers marketing themselves. Which F1 star makes more than $50,000 for an Instagram post? And how much is Daniel Ricciardo's brand worth to a team? Stay tuned for all that and more. First, the era of influencers. What do Kim Kardashian and Kimi Räikkönen have in common? Apart from sharing a first name, they both use Instagram as a way to advertise and earn income. Sure, Kimi Räikkönen's 2 million followers don't look that impressive compared to Kim Kardashian's 290 million, but it's still much more than any of us will ever have. F1 drivers these days do much more than race on the track. They now use their platform for advertising, activism, and to have a relationship with their fans. Their teams also expect them to post team-related news and promotional material to engage their audience. On Instagram, Lewis Hamilton has 27 million followers and posts a mixture of racing, family, and pictures of his signature fashion. The massive following means that Hamilton can earn over $50,000 per Instagram post. That's more than most people make in a year. Other drivers have used this platform in similar ways. Daniel Ricciardo uses his Instagram to promote his clothing brands and his image, something that you would associate more with an influencer than an F1 driver. Aston Martin driver and all-round nice guy Sebastian Vettel chooses to use his social media for positivity. He loves to post messages for equality and environmental causes that he believes in. Social media has become a massive part of who a driver is and how much they're worth. How much would you give for just a couple million followers? Surely you can spare some, Lewis. You've got plenty. Next, children of the revolution. Money makes the world go round, and it makes Formula One wheels spin. F1 sponsorship raked in a whopping $30 billion from 2004 to 2019. But as the world changes, teams now have to think of new ways to advertise themselves to younger fans, and they have done it pretty well. In 2019, only 14% of F1 viewers were under the age of 25, but in recent years, they have been getting younger and coming from all over the world, all the way from Asia and Africa to the Middle East. Now, 62% of new fans are under 35, and there has been a 17% increase of the youth fan base. But how exactly have they achieved this? F1 has done this through creative new ways of marketing the sport. One example is how over the last few weeks, both McLaren and Mercedes released Lego models of their F1 race cars, and they've been a hit. The cars have been all over Twitter and Facebook, with F1 fans excited to build their very own little F1 car. And the models are not just for kids. In fact, they're full-scale, adult-focused models. That's a fancy way of saying toys. The cars are priced at just under $200, and they're already out of stock on most websites. Looking to the future, Formula One and esports. Another way that F1 has been creative in their marketing has been by embracing esports. Some people still may think that video games are not a sport, but those people are being left behind. In 2021, the esports industry generated over $1 billion of revenue. Formula One has taken advantage of the popularity of this growth to launch their own esports league, the Formula One Esports Series. The series is owned by Formula One and has been running since 2017. The prize fund in 2020 was an impressive $750,000 and has tens of millions of viewers. Now, all of the major F1 teams have a team in the series, and the setup was also very useful for Formula One when races were cancelled during COVID. In April 2020, instead of an F1 race, drivers Charles Leclerc, George Russell, Alex Albon, Lando Norris, Nicholas Latifi, and Antonio Giovinazzi all competed in an F1 esports virtual Grand Prix for the fans. The growth of the league has even meant that some esports drivers have made it into the real world of racing. Turkish racer Cem Bolakbasi started off in esports and has now made it all the way to Formula 2. Can you imagine going from racing on a video game in your room to driving some of the fastest cars in the world? Don't go anywhere if you want to find out about how important Ricciardo's branding is and how streaming has changed Formula One. When did it all change? Some things never change, but most things do. Formula One certainly has. It used to be a niche sport, followed by mainly older people. What was the big change and what caused it? Before Formula One was put up for sale in 2017, it was led by Bernie Ecclestone. For those who don't remember, he was a very opinionated and very controversial former CEO of Formula One. From the 1970s up until 2017, he controlled pretty much every aspect of the sport. His approach was very conservative, and his main focus was on revenue from selling the television rights of the sport. But because of that old-school style, he was allergic to social media. He was set in his ways and was about to change the way they had marketed Formula One for 40 years. When Liberty Media took over in 2017, they got rid of Bernie and started fresh. They introduced social media, digital marketing, and a more interactive atmosphere to Formula Formula One. Before, it was a sport guarded with secrecy and prestige. Now it's being opened up more and more to the public, and Liberty Media are trying to gain the broadest audience possible. This means that drivers are not expected to take themselves so seriously, and there's a lot more room for personalities to come out. Next, streaming F1 drivers, Lando Norris, and live broadcasting. Have you ever wanted to experience the feeling of driving an F1 car? Maybe you don't have a spare $7,000 laying around and it's too late to start your F1 career. Fortunately for you, we live in a time where every sport now has a video game. Whether it's FIFA, Madden, or NBA 2K, fans love to be able to simulate the real thing themselves, and Formula One is no different. There is an official F1 game released each year, and they're getting more and more realistic. The developers work closely with Formula One teams to try to get the same look and feel as the real thing. The game has taken on a life of its own in recent years, with the worldwide COVID lockdowns. When F1 seasons were interrupted by COVID, the drivers suddenly had a lot of free time. Some of them were training or spending time with their families, but what were the youngsters doing? Streaming themselves on Twitch, of course. Out of all the drivers, Lando Norris has the biggest audience on Twitch, with 1.2 million followers. He still streams regularly and has branched out into playing different video games and sharing funny moments from his life. Lando offers fans an inside look into Formula One by commenting on races with his perspective as a driver. This has earned him a loyal following of fans who love to interact with him through Twitch while he's streaming. He has even had his stream ended by F1 for streaming during a Grand Prix. Apparently, that's a big no-no. Other drivers like Charles Leclerc, George Russell, and Alex Albon also joined Lando and have been helping to attract new fans to the sport. How much is Ricciardo's smile worth? How much is Daniel Ricciardo's smile worth? The Australian is always bouncing around the paddock and making jokes with a big grin on his face. But how far has this gotten him in his career? In so many ways, F1 is a truly unique sport, but in other ways, it's the same as any other. In football, for example, Ronaldo is so popular that Manchester United made over $60 million in 12 hours. Some racing drivers are the same. There's no doubt that Ricciardo was a big asset to Red Bull and Renault's marketing. Red Bull Racing's most viewed video on its YouTube channel is Ricciardo's Road Trip USA, and the second most viewed video is Ricciardo racing a jet fighter aeroplane in his F1 car. He's also been in a GQ Sports interview on YouTube to break down racing movies, in a video that's been viewed 8 million times. The boy's a star. He's more than just a driver. Teams understand the value that Daniel can bring to a team. People are excited to see him, and he's undeniably one of the most popular drivers in F1. Now he's joined McLaren and combined with Lando Norris to boost McLaren's image. Ricciardo has already appeared in McLaren's 5th most viewed YouTube video with Lando Norris, where they compare British and Australian snack foods. This shows how important personalities are in sport. Kids grow up watching their heroes play and compete, and Formula One is no different. What do you think has changed in F1 over the last 5 years? Did you watch Formula One before Liberty Media bought it in 2017? And we want to hear about you. Are you a younger viewer who has recently gotten into F1? Leave us a comment and let us know. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.